So we're here with under-18s manager Simon Clark. We just finished a morning training session. So with today being Thursday, Simon, do you have a set weekly routine for your training sessions?
We do. Obviously, there's a physical component that we need to look at. Our hardest day won't be a Friday, playing on a Saturday. So it is periodised. The content isn't and cannot be reactive to what's happened on the previous Saturday. So we do have a syllabus that we work to, but there are spaces for little tweaks. If a player needs something that's relevant to him there and then, and obviously we've got to incorporate that within training or a one-to-one session or extra work with a small group.
So with that many training sessions, how do you ensure that your sessions stay engaging?
We put loads of focus here that it's a job. They're getting paid by this football club. We want 15 pros every year. You know, we never get that, and no club ever does. But it's really important that there's loads of enjoyment in it. So we play certain games, we have certain down periods, we have certain club things that we do. But the sessions have to have a seriousness about them when we're working, because that development time is key, and we can't train for 5 hours a day on the football pitch because the lads would just fatigue and would get soft tissue problems. So the time that we spend there's a balance between it being enjoyable but also them developing and learning, and that's really key.
So on that, what defines a successful training session in your eyes?
Learning, good performance. No players want to perform badly. My job as the lead coach is to put pictures into them, is to give them instruction and what's good, what's bad, what's right, what's wrong. But even within that, there is flexibility. If I have a fullback that takes on 7 people every time he gets the ball and crosses into the box or shoots from 30 yards and scores, I'm not going to stop him. But the percentages are he'll do that one time in 150. You know, so we have to put that information into them, and obviously that again, there's external influence, which is opposition. So we have to try and recreate that and have a realism on the practice for their development. And it's all about development. We want to win. Every single player from under 8s to under 23s want to win. So that's important as well, but that can't be at the cost of development. So we're looking to give the players the knowledge, we're looking to get them sharp and fit, but that's mentally as well as tactically and technically.
So you mentioned opposition there. Do you tailor your sessions to match your upcoming opposition?
We do. We tend to find, we're sat at the top of the league at the moment. We tend to find we do research, and the analysts do, and myself do research on the opposition. A lot of times teams are changing to try and negate what we are and what we do. So there's only a certain amount. We have to have a plan B and a plan C with ideas, because teams often go back 5 against us and put in an extra defender. Sometimes they'll man mark somebody. Sometimes they won't press. They'll go low or mid block and give us problems like that. So we have to try and get a general picture. But it's about 80-20. So 80% is what we do, and our actions, our synergy between ball possessor and next receivers, our movements, what we do. And then the 20% is obviously to gain advantage against their structure, how they press, how they play. But as we all know, those things can change. So, you know, we have to be really adaptable as well.
So directed at younger players, can you just talk to us about the importance of training well?
It's huge. It's absolutely huge. There's no magic button where you go from a trainer that trains at 70% of your max to someone that can do it at match day speeds. We test the players every day on their GPS on where they hit their max velocities. So if it's a recovery session, they're not expected to hit 95, 98%, 102% of their max Vs. But when we're working and it's relevant for them to hit those numbers, we expect them to hit those numbers. And that takes effort and that takes energy. Now that can be with the ball, that can be without the ball, because you can hit your max Vs on recovery runs, you know, to win the ball back. You can hit your max Vs on the press. So no, we expect them to play at those match rhythms. And what we find when we have the trialists or when we look at players from outside, they haven't got those quick rhythms. Whereas the players that are signed and work with us, they have that quick rhythm on the ball, but with the ball under control and their plans. And that only comes from doing it day in, day out on the training ground.
And so finally, for you personally, how far do training performances impact your matchday selections? Hugely. And I think that's I'm preparing them to go onto the seniors, into the first team here and beyond, you know, and they have to understand that when you're playing for points and championships and one-off cup games at any level, there has to be a certain amount of trust that you have. I have to try and pick my best players, because my best players will keep the ball and give the ball to my players. If players turn the ball over or don't defend well or can't win the ball back or don't work hard enough, then we're not going to have the ball. You know, so there's got to be a trust from me with the players. There's got to be a trust from the players in the players that play. Because if we can't keep the ball or can't win the ball back, you know, we're going to spend a lot of time without it. And we mostly 99% of the time have more ball than the other team, hit more passes than the other team. We're about 500 plus per game, and that's what we want for our players to develop. We need the ball.